Okay. Hi. Hey everybody. Is the music in the background? Yes it is. Hello. Hey everyone. I was gonna actually ask, so I thought since this is like a game design, yeah, I was gonna say, like, should I use my low poly model or should I use my more normal traditional, like this one here? Like this one I'd say has more accurate kind of tracking. Like I feel like it feels a little more realistic, like when I talk and stuff. But the low polys is kind of like a nice change of pace, I would say. What are we thinking? Thinking low poly or classic flavor? Oh, let me reopen that. Maybe I'll... Here, let me crank down the music. Is the music fine, or should I lower it? But yeah, I thought the low poly would be a nice change of pace. Kind of like Nintendo DS energy, I would say. Where it's like, it's low poly but high detail. Not necessarily like PS1 or N64. But let me... maybe I'll make a new document, because I do have a doc kind of going over a bunch of stuff. Maybe, you know what, actually, maybe I'll even get my drawing tablet out. Maybe we'll even do some basic sketches. You know? Really get the creative juices flowing, doing something a little different. Because this isn't, you know, I usually do, you know, video game streams or art streams. Usually art. I would say I'm more of an art streamer. Lately I've been either working on commissions, and then I was working on that Lego stream for like 8 hours total. So, but yeah. Word Blossom, do you have any like experience with TRPGs? Like do you have ever played like a Starfinder, Pathfinder, D&D, any of those kind of things? Any personal experience or not? Kind of new to it all. This is so cool. I've played D&D, Lancer, hoping to play Icon sometime. Yeah, actually my friend was actually very interested in starting an Icon, I think it was Icon campaign. PBTA games. That's powered by the Apocalypse? Yeah. Monster Hearts. Monster Hearts sounds familiar. Let me look that up. I don't think I know that one by name. Yeah, looks like low poly is what we're gonna go with today. Change it up a little. Like Twilight or Teen Wolf. My character you're gonna love. Okay. Wait, Adrian, you said you didn't want to spoil the character, right? So I'll not tell you anything about them. That's totally fair. Yeah, no, I Adrian in chat, Adrian Inbound. We're planning on hopefully doing a Troika playthrough. We're gonna do like a little probably a live stream, but also a podcast as well. Like we're gonna stream it, but we're also gonna record our audio and clean it up and that kind of stuff to upload it like all nice and edited. So we'll have 2 versions. Now that I think about it though, if I wanted to do Adrian, the problem is that I need to do art for it, so I kind of need to know what it is. You know what? Actually, okay, I'll make my character first, and then I'll get your info on it. Because like the plan was that I was gonna do some of the art for the video, like the stream. So let's pull up. Where is capture? Google Chrome, untitled document. Is it open? No, I don't think so. There we go. I feel bad though. What's the matter? College just not what you want? I was supposed to stream. Missing the stream? Yeah, that's totally valid. Look at that. I'm here in the little corner. That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight. Alright, you. Screwed my sleep schedule. Hi, Hono. Yeah, losing my religion. Trying to keep an eye on you. What is it? Let me get a Chrome capture. 'Cause I think I could probably crop this a little better. There we go. There we go. I unfortunately cannot play copyrighted music. not for this stream. I want to archive this stream. So, let me actually pull up some stuff because I feel like there's I have some material I can show you guys. Alright, so this is the character sheet. What's my game pitch? Okay. Let's go to the blank page. Let's go to the blank page. Okay. Game pitch. So okay. RPGs, especially in like more modern times, right? They're very much about, they tend to be about like sharing some sort of narrative, right? And you know, of course, traditionally in these types of games, you use combat as a way of expressing the story, right? You know, having your story's conflict be, you know, literal physical conflict as opposed to like, you know, more traditionally emotional conflict, I guess. Instead of arguments, you talk with your fists, right? But personally, I kind of find, especially like D&D, I would say, this is mostly criticisms aimed at D&D. A lot of this stuff is very much inspired by the OSR, old school Renaissance kind of movement. But I never really liked how, because characters have all these different tools, right? Like if you're a spellcaster, you can have a a vast amount of tools, right? Modest Ghost Mouse. Can't believe Modest Mouse died. R.I.P. You have a vast amount of tools, right? So it's like if you're a spellcaster, you can do like, you can make a cool hand that grabs things, right? And you can make a fireball, and you can make electricity, and you can heal people, and you can do all this stuff, right? You're not necessarily focused in on a specific talent. You're more of like a generalist, right? And I would say a lot of the D&D player characters function in a similar way, where rather than having a hyper-specific skill set, they have a vast amount of tools at their disposal. As a weeaboo, as a resident weeaboo, I guess some of my favorite, anime, of course, has a lot of, traditionally, like, shonen battle manga, right? You have a lot of fighting, you have a lot of conflicts like that. But I think for me personally, my weeb detected power, as a weeaboo, alright, I have preferences, right? I have preferences. There's some, I don't think all anime fights are good. A lot of them are bad, actually. And I think when people talk about the types of, kind of conflicts that they like and don't like, right? I think generally the term that people go to is like power creep, where it's like characters basically get like a big boost in numerical power, right? It's not like they earn a new skill. It's not like they learn how to do a new thing. They just punch harder, right? Number go up. It's not like you learn a thing. It's that you do the same thing, but quote unquote better, right? My favorite kind of shonen battle manga, over 9,000, literally that, right? My favorite shonen battle manga tends to do, so we're talking like your JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, your Hunter Hunters, maybe even a One Piece or two, right? A little sprinkle One Piece. Something I always loved about those types, a two piece. Something I always loved about the way that the fights are handled in those types of stories is that, instead of vertical progression, where it's like, character can punch harder, it's a much more of lateral progress, right? Basically, like, characters are denoted like a particular single horizontal progression, baby. Characters are denoted like a singular kind of unique skill, right? Like if you ever watched JoJo Part 4, the main character of that, his ability is that he can repair things, right? That's basically his thing. But because it's like more laterally focused, right? That's his one ability. He just fixes things, but he can't fix it himself. So he can use his ability to heal wounds. When he beats people up, he can, like, quote unquote fix them incorrectly. Like, he can like mess up their faces. He can go through walls by like punching through them and then fixing them up, so no harm is done, right? There's a very famous bit where he's on a motorcycle and he's about to like drive into like a baby in the middle of the street, and then he like destroys his motorcycle so it's in pieces midair, and then repairs it on the other side so he just doesn't hit the baby, right? That sort of like very horizontal, kind of lateral style of thinking is personally my favorite way that fights are kind of handled. And I also really loved how in, you know, those types of series, every character has a very unique ability, right? Like everybody can do a completely different thing. Of course, you're gonna have overlap, you know, right? The human mind can only imagine so many things, but generally people are gonna be specialists, right? They're focused on one particular skill, but they hone it and do it in unique circumstances, right? Depending on the context. And, you know, if you're a fan of JoJo or Hunter x Hunter especially, right? It's kind of hard to, like in a video game, for example, right? You can't really make like a character maker or whatever for that, because, you know, those are universes where people's abilities are based off of like their personalities, right? Like whatever their personality is going to determine what their power is. You know, once again, if we're going to go JoJo Part 4 as the example, it's a very good example. It's very simple. Josuke is he looks tough, but he's actually very selfish. Thank you, Adrian. He's actually very selfless. A penny for your trouble. Alright, so his ability lets him heal other people, but not himself. Done. Super simple limitation. He can heal other people, not himself. Done. And that type of limitation also tells you about his personality. With all of that said, all that preamble, essentially what I'm getting at is that my idea would be kind of less of a necessary like rule set, quote unquote, more like guidelines. I guess kind of very I guess sort of Gygaxian, very like old school D&D, right? Like if you don't like these rules, you can ignore them. These are a guideline, right? Because ultimately, if you want to be able to make your own characters that would like fit in those types of universes, you need to have a lot of freedom for design. So ultimately, I can't really put that much limitation. But in something that I've seen in a lot of similar types of systems, because I've done a little bit of research, the main criticism I always see is that there isn't enough direction on how to create your own custom content, right? Maybe NPC character abilities or player characters, right? So I think more than anything, I would want to kind of develop less so a strict rule set, more so loose guidelines that people can follow to design their own characters, to tell these more puzzle box, laterally focused, very battle manga style encounters. Yeah, that's my pitch. That's my pitch. It's definitely a mechanics first kind of thing. It was designed to be pretty genre agnostic, but I do kind of have a specific aesthetic in mind eventually. That sounds stellar. Thank you. Let me charge my phone. I'm sorry. Yeah, I have I've technically already played a session using it once. Now I don't know where my charger is. Hot dog. I have played a session with my friends already. I should actually, let me try to see if I can find. First, let me actually just like show a blank character sheet, I guess, because this will probably make it easier to explain my thought process. Once again, everything is very, very simple, straightforward. More than anything, I would say that this is definitely less, actually, let me move some stuff around. I feel like this would make people, I feel like this character sheet would give most D&D players an aneurysm, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry for anyone who found me through the D&D tag. Let me try to shrink this down. So the all right, so let's see. Oh, let me read. There's this game I found called Scrap that has a similar idea, but with equipment where you can basically create any sort of weapon or armor you can think of as long as you have the resources. Yeah, that's definitely how I... No, you're fine. Let me look that up. Scrap RPG, I guess. Is it Scraps or Scrap? If you can find a link to it, feel free to send it in chat. By Steven Zich. Oh, it's on drive-thru. Nice. Okay, let me... So it's very much like, looks like aesthetically, it's like post-apocalyptic? Nothing is to wait. Skin, mash together a gun from rusted hunks of God, or God. But don't get too attached. Heavens know you'll take it apart tomorrow. Well, that's cool. So it's all about like custom building stuff from different materials you collect, I guess. Very cool. Very, very cool. I'll definitely look into this. That sounds sick. I mean, I need more RPGs to play anyways. I already have some plans in mind. Like I said, I'm wanting to play Troika. It's a really neat idea. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you, Modest Ghost Mouse. Yeah, also thank you for the suggestion as well. Both the follow and the game. So, if you're seeing this, you can probably see some similarities to a couple kind of OSR adjacent projects. But I think more than anything, this character sheet is designed to not be super objective, rather kind of more based off of flavor, right? Because like ultimately when you attack someone, mechanically, regardless if it's like a sword or a punch or a gun or whatever, I mean the specific numbers might be different, right? Like the type of die you roll might be different, but like mechanically we're just we're reflavoring, right? That's the fancy word, reflavoring. So more than anything, this sheet is just like 90% flavor, because ultimately that's kind of the only way to account for every type of ability. Let me actually... So originally the skills and techniques section was not as long. Here. It was previously like this, where it was broken down into like 3 little subcategories. As like, oh, maybe you can apply it in this way or that way. Until the session where we tested stuff out, my friend and fellow streamer Bozo Tibbs made a character called Roadwork. So this was kind of like a superhero-y type setting, ran by my friend Jandakar. And Roadwork was this. I believe he was an amnesiac. I sure hope it does. That was his thing. Roadwork was. I believe he was an amnesiac who had a traffic cone on his head. And because of that, his vision was just like super impaired, and he never takes out the traffic cone. And his like special ability was that he was essentially like a wild magic mage, I guess. He had like a metal pole, and then like, you know, like the Mario Kart, like you pick up an item, it goes boom, and like it lands on a specific thing. So he would take his metal pole, slam it on the ground, and then it would and then it would randomize a traffic sign. And whatever the traffic sign was, it had a different effect. Right? And he rolls on a d20. So it's like, if so like, he's just as likely to like stop time as he is to like summon a bunch of baby ducks to cross the street, you know. Like, I think his ability, I think Roadwork Ahead literally just like teleported him like towards whatever his like designated goal was. So like he would slam it down and he'd go, "Roadwork, I sure hope it does," and then he would like teleport like right in front of the like villain party and just like bonk him in the face. It was very fun. But because Roadwork technically had like 20 different effects, right? This sort of formatting was not super conducive with the way his gameplay style worked. So I had to restructure the entire character sheet with that style of character design in mind. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm making the skill section super big and super open, just to account for like very specific abilities like that. Though, once again, I do kind of have sort of base rules in mind. Let me just enable you guys being able to see my cursor real quick. I realize that's off. Properties. Oh. Oh, there we go. See my mouse. Cool. So this section over here, right? These little squares. There's, I think, 12 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 11, 12. Yeah, there's 12. 12 of these little squares. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the follow, Funny Man Low. I really appreciate that. So, these little squares here are what I call like tech points or technique points. And tech points are kind of, if we're gonna be using our anime terms, right? They're like your aura, your ki, your life energy, right? It's the material or power source or energy source that you're using to activate your magic, you know, your magic your magic punch ghost karate, right? Magic punch ghost karate, it doesn't just come out of nowhere, right? You have to use up your focus. You gotta focus to use it, right? And so on the surface, I guess it would be like kind of similar to like a spell slot or whatever, but the main difference would be, and this was very much inspired, if you guys have heard of there's like this indie kind of Pokemon like RPG called Temtem. Let me pull this up. But Temtem has a super clever mechanic, and I loved it. I was so I knew I wanted to put it in the game, and I thought it was super in line with the very like anime style aesthetic that I'm going for. So in Temtem, if you guys ever play Pokemon, you have limited uses for each of your Pokemon's abilities, right? Generally more, you know, high damage or whatever, more immediately useful abilities are gonna have less uses, right? You can only use them so many times. And then, you know, so it's basically to de-incentivize spam. In Temtem though, once you run out of your uses, right, your spell slots, quote unquote, we can call them, or I think for monks are like key points or whatever. Whatever your designated like kind of ability point system, once you run out, you're still able to use your abilities, but at the cost of your HP, right? And I thought, if you guys have ever watched there's a really cool anime called Yu Yu Hakusho. I remember there being like this moment where like the main character Yusuke, he like his whole thing is that he has like a little like laser gun that he shoots out of his pointer finger, called the Spirit Gun, and he uses up all of his life like aura, right? And then because he runs out of it, he instead has to use like his life energy, like so he's literally killing like using every last bit of his life, right? He's like literally killing himself, you know, till the very bitter end, just to stand a chance, right? And I thought the idea of once you run out of your main pool, you're still able to use your abilities, but it takes from your HP instead. Definitely played into that sort of aesthetic where it's like, you know, you're using all of your energy to the point of like potentially even passing out, right? So like more like mechanically focused players might be like a lot more strategic in the ways that they use their ability costs, right? Or even like try to work in ways to potentially even regain said lost energy, right? My friend Press pointed out like, oh yeah, there should be like, you know, maybe a category or like some sort of ways for players to regain their energy points. And I agreed. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think of something like that. So yeah, so that's why it's that way. It used to be 20 little squares for our first playthrough, and yeah, kind of the way that we did it was like, oh yeah, like the cost of your ability is going to be like from 1 to 3, with more like it basically costs from 1 to 3, and if you set, you know, kind of strict limitations on the way that your ability works, your ability cost decreases, right? So if it's like your character has a vendetta against like a group of people who like killed their clan or whatever, I'm just taking Hunter x Hunter right now because that's this is just Hunter x Hunter. The character Kurapika, right? His family, his whole clan was killed by a group of assassins called the Phantom Troop, right? And his ability, yeah, Nen. It's literally Nen. And you know, his ability gets stronger with the more limitations he puts on it, where it's like, because it only works on this specific group of people, who are like 12 people out of the entire planet, that makes it like super duper strong, but also like extremely situational. Basically it would fall into that same sort of logic where it's like, the more situational your ability is, the less of a cost it would be, and the more broad it is, the more expensive it would be, because it's like eating up at your aura, right? Yeah, no, I'm calling myself out. I just wanted to make a Hunter x Hunter RPG. I wanted a Hunter x Hunter RPG. and I'm here. Yeah, let me see if I can find the game I played with my friends. It was this really cool game my friend Jandakar made called Paragon, where we're a bunch of superheroes, and yeah, here it is. So this is a game, Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, it's a game that we couldn't play for like 40 minutes. Yeah, yeah, Adrian, I don't know if you knew this, but Paragon was ran in the system I made. Jan literally was like, "Oh yeah, you're trying to make a game. I want to play RPGs with the homies. Let's do this." Should say that this character sheet here is kind of half-assed. It was made after we got a bunch of items and stuff. But yeah, like, so this guy here, his name's Kabuto. He's kind of a grappler, sort of Super Sentai type, Kamen Rider type kind of character. He's like a masked hero, the big, and his ability is that like he can make like beetle armor around himself. He like generates beetle armor. Yeah, he's very classic tokusatsu. And see there, so his main ability is exoskeleton. That's his normal ass ability. And then his pincers and elytra, because they're more like situational and specific, they're basically like more expensive, right? So like something I would do is like, okay, so he can make beetle stuff, is basically his power. He makes beetle stuff. As you can see, his weapon of choice is just a normal ass metal baseball bat. But I'm able to like use his ability to like add pincers to the baseball bat and deal more damage like that. Or, you know, I can just like pick up an object and put like the elytras on it and make them function almost like a dart, where like they go flying around, right? Super cool. It's a very fun game, but yeah, this is kind of like a basic rundown of how character sheets look. I believe, was it 5 points, I think. Yeah. Basically I designed it so player characters start with like 5 points that they can put into their stats, so that way they're kind of forced into some form of specialization. I was very much inspired by the way Arcane Ugly, if you guys are familiar with that. It's made by the YouTuber Miscast. The way that he handled his character sheets and the kind of stats in his game. Basically, wisdom and intelligence just turned into one stat, and then getting rid of charisma, because charisma is very abusable, and kind of has the potential of kind of lessening the kind of specifics, the specific nuances on which characters do things, right? Like, the charisma stat is basically the social interaction stat, and does not have like, doesn't really account for like, Trent is probably my favorite artist. Yeah, no, he's great. His stuff is wonderful. I love his videos. But like, the charisma stat does not really like determine the difference between like if you're like a big hulking person or like a spooky slendery person, right? Like, the way you intimidate someone is going to be completely different, right? You know, of course, it's all down to flavor, but like I think making it a single like designated stat makes it highly abusable, and kind of has the potential to take away from character individuality. So I was totally kind of shout out to Fallout 4 for having the worst use of charisma stat. Yeah, like charisma stat is, yeah, I was like, no charisma stat. Charisma is gonna be very much based off of the individual character. Constitution and strength are just turned into one stat as well. Doesn't need to be two stats. Yeah. I really like, if you guys have heard of the game Mouse Ritter, it's pretty cool. I like how they have limited inventory slots in that game. Yeah, once again, this is the later version. I wanted to do something like that, but I thought, like, making every single kind of item in an inventory have like unique shapes or whatever would have been like way too much. So just having limited slots, like very few slots, so that way people really have to think hard about what they take and what they, you know, to potentially maybe like craft for items. Like a crafting system could be cool, because I super love the idea of like a la Monster Hunter, right? Like, or maybe even like the anime like Toriko, where like people like go out and like fight like big monsters and stuff, or maybe turn parts of them into like either like tools or armor. Maybe like, if you know, the anime Toriko, they're chefs, and they like get like super cool special unique ingredients from like dangerous monsters and stuff like that. You know, so I thought limited slots could be really cool. Leads to players needing to think harder about that kind of thing, because like with such a rules light sort of system, there needs to be some sort of structure, and I feel like resource management, right? That's ultimately what RPGs kind of are at their core. It's resource management. Either your health is resource, or you know, like you know, your items, how many times you can use abilities, etc. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this is kind of a decent summarization. Archetype, once again, it's a flavor thing. It's more talking about the tropes of what your character is, as opposed to a material class. Once again, this is super lateral, so it's classless and levelless. Really the only, like, real kind of similarity to, like, Dungeons and Dragons itself, I would say, would probably be, like, the use of modifier stats and using a d20. But even then, that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. It's just the game is kind of balanced around a d20 system. But honestly, like, with all the OGL stuff going on, I've been considering potentially swapping out for a 2d6 system. I just personally don't have as much experience with 2d6. I've been thinking about 2d6 because, like, once again, very much, like I said, very much wearing my inspirations on my sleeve. Lots of battle manga inspiration here. And if you don't know, in Japan, a lot of the RPGs from there, especially like the older ones, use 2d6 systems instead of d20s, because Call of Cthulhu, which is a 2d6 system, was imported to Japan before Dungeons and Dragons. So like, basically the RPG scene over there, instead of being, you know, inspired by D&D, is inspired by Call of Cthulhu. Super neat, super cool. I thought by, you know, I'm thinking maybe if I did 2d6, it could be a nice little homage to that. Or at the very least, having alternate rules in the rulebook for 2d6. I mean, you know, D6 are like super easy to get like anywhere. You can get them at a dollar store. So, you know, it would just make the game even more accessible, honestly. But I think for the time being, I'm just going to keep it as a D20 system, because I really like using different, like, I like using different die types to represent different, you know, types of damage, right? Like different maximums and minimums and whatever. I just think that's super fun and super like tangibly like, oh, this is like noticeably different. Okay, trying to think. What do we gotta... What do I gotta talk about? I have this whole thing. It's all lore. It's all lore and nonsense and whatever. You know, Hunter x Hunter, it's that. It's that. It's literally that. Rivers Cuomo. He's a hero of the people. This was like notes for like potential mechanics and lore or whatever. Ideas for universal mechanics, HP scales, damage scales. I think I was... Yeah, I think I wrote like this, right? So it's like age, background, relationships, ideal, fear, and flaw. I wrote all that as like kind of a loose sort of like, hey, if you want a quick, easy way to make a character in a couple seconds with your friends, just think of that stuff, and then think about what sort of power makes sense with that personality type. Yeah. Temperament, history. I also like if... What was that game called? What was the game called? I don't remember. Shit. Is it, Unsleeping City? No. Is that it? What the fuck was it called? Wait, was it? It was this RPG. It's very like superhero-y inspired. And the whole kind of basis for like a lot of like, instead of having skills, it's more like character narrative based. So you write down your character's like personality and backstory and whatever, and then you highlight keywords that make sense. City of Heroes? Is that... No. God damn it. Fuck you, Adrian. Fuck you, Adrian. I thought someone in chat actually remembered the name of this game. I think it's City of Mist. I think that's what it was called. You can see why I fucking got confused. I actually believed you, Adrian. Yeah, here's a really cool game. I'll put it in chat since I know with the whole like OGL stuff, a lot of people are wanting suggestions for new games. Actual channel point options. I will. I'm sorry. I don't know how to add channel points. So in the lore of City of Mist, I guess like characters are sort of like avatars or kind of representations of either like mythological figures or from like folklore and stories and all that. Like this dude, his name's Salamander. Also, the whole thing is like they have an awareness level where like kind of it's almost like the personality of the character that they're embodying, right? The character or mythological figure that they're embodying kind of have like a push and pull relationship with the core personality. It's pretty cool. See what his character background is. So you can see here, Heartthrob, City Water Worker, Nimbus of Primordial Plasma, Up-and-Coming Crime Fighter. Those are the highlighted words, and it gives you an idea, just from reading those, like, okay, yeah, you kind of get a vibe for what this guy's whole deal is, right? He's a heartthrob. Oh, maybe he's very charismatic, you know, maybe he's very easy to, like, convince people to get on his side. He's a city water worker. Well, he's probably good with tools, and he probably knows some level of engineering or whatever, right? Maybe some, you know, like, kind of basic science stuff, you know? Nimbus of Primordial Plasma, I guess that's his power. He can make plasma stuff. He's fire, whatever. And up-and-coming crime fighter, you know? There you go. It's all right there. Those keywords give you a rough idea of what he can do and what his gist is. Right? You don't need to have, like, how do I put it? Like you know how, like, in D&D, we have a designated skill for, like, lockpicking or whatever, but it's like, if your character's backstory is that they're, like, a thief, or, like, you know, like, someone who steals stuff, or someone who's real sneaky, it's like, I don't know, I feel like lockpicking is not a particularly surprising skill to have. Like, I feel like that's, I don't know, something you can kind of assume, or, like, the player could even, like, justify. Like, just, like, the DM, just talk to the DM, be like, oh, I want to pick this lock, because my character, you know, like, my character was a thief, well, I want to pick the lock. And they'll be like, okay. And you just do it, right? Because it just makes sense. It makes logical sense. It's not that much of a stretch, right? We're already, what's it called? We're already, kind of trying to, what's it called? Suspension of disbelief? We already have a suspension of disbelief, you know. I feel like it's not that much more. But yeah, so that was a mechanic I thought about carrying over, excuse me, from this game, City of Mist. People should check out. It looks really cool. Seems like the devs are pretty chill, pretty cool. And look at this art. This art's real nice. Yeah. Also, I guess I will. Modest Ghost Mouse recommended Scrap. I'll put that in chat as well if you guys want to check that out. Other game we mentioned was Arcane Ugly. I'll pull that up as well. I'll put that in chat. But yeah, a lot of like OSR, old school Renaissance kind of stuff is very much my key influence. I love that kind of improv-y, go with the flow, super creative attitude of the old school Renaissance. It's like super rules light, do what you want, you know? Okay. Now, since this is like, did you make the 8-bit thingy next to your name? Oh, yes I did actually. Here, let me show you. You should still be able to hear me, but my little loading screen is like a little Tamagotchi of like a little dog with goggles. It's like my avatar, I guess. So I just made like a colored version to be the Twitch subscriber badge. So if you subscribe, you get that the little doggy next to your name. It's supposed to be like modeled after the like the yippy little meme creature. This document is very much based off of the previous version of the sheet. Let's see here. Because I changed it from weapon to weapon and fighting style. That was more so based off of, I really love fighting games. Yay. Especially love the various depictions of super unique and different fighting styles. Right? Like, you know, people don't need to all be brawlers. Brawlers can be cool, but, you know, we can have more than that. Like, I think capoeira is super cool. You know, it's like a martial art disguised to look like dancing, and nowadays it's more of a performance art more than anything, right? Super cool. Yeah, literally just look at the cast of Street Fighter. You know? Like Juri Han is like yeah, Chun-Li. Was it Juri Han's like Taekwondo. I don't actually know what Chun-Li practices. Let me look that up. A blend of Taekwondo and Capoeira into your Chinese martial arts training. Did not know that was actually... I mean, it makes sense. It definitely fits her aesthetic with all the kicks and stuff. Capoeira definitely has a lot of kicks. But yeah, you know, once again, you're ultimately going to be punching and whatever. Mechanically, it's all the same, so might as well flavor blast it, right? It's like, well, okay, well, you know, player, you the player, try thinking about, like, you know, how does your character move? How do they fight things? Do they have a specific technique or style? You know, that's stuff to think about. That may be fun. Fun flavoring to do. Yeah, Vega is like I think he's supposed to be like a Spanish bullfighter? I actually don't know what his martial art is either. Does he have a mix between Japanese ninjutsu and Spanish bullfighting? Perfect. Right? So like if we were to put like Vega into here, right? Be like name Vega, archetype, I don't know, I guess bullfighter, Weapon and fighting style would be like claw and ninjutsu. I'm gonna put a portrait of him, his backstory. Right? I guess his skill would be that he has 2 different fighting styles depending on whether or not he's using the claw. Like that would probably be his mechanic. Right? Obviously he wouldn't fit perfectly in this kind of system because he doesn't really have any real paranormal abilities. You know, some of the Street Fighter characters do, but yeah, like, you know, that's the kind of basic gist of how you would lay things out. What's, I feel like the cast of Guilty Gear is definitely a huge influence. I mean, fighting games on a whole, I just adore aesthetically. But like, I love something I tried to tell my friend when I was developing this was I considered putting, and I think I still do want to do this. I want to put a rule in place. Once again, rules are whatever, you know, do what you want. These are more guidelines, but like, where players are incentivized to, instead of using like, for their quote-unquote weapon, instead of using like what would be a real-life like lethal weapon, using unique objects that would be specific to the characters. But Stan Bridget. We love Bridget in this household. Basically like characters using unique items that are important to them and their backstory, right? Fighting with the bed. That'd be cool. I love, if you guys know Kanji from Persona 4, he fights people with a chair. And he's like sick as hell. I don't know how you would, yeah, here's a picture of him with the chair. I feel like carrying around a bed would be very difficult, but you could do it, you know? You can make it work. But Kanji, he beats people up with a chair, you know? He's sick as hell. Sin and Bedman. True, yeah, Sin uses a flag and Bedman uses a bed. I guess it's more of a robot bed, but it's still a bed, yeah. Fair enough. Bro, literally brought a chair to a sword fight. Literally. Like I remember, I was telling my friend Press, I was like, yeah, I don't want people to use like lethal weapons. I like the idea of people using unique items to fight people. Right, if we're talking Guilty Gear, you know, Bridget fights people with yo-yos. May fights people with an anchor. Sin uses a flag, right? What's her name? The witch lady. She uses like a guitar. You know, all these weird, unique items. And Press, trying to be a little smart aleck, played exactly into what I wanted. Press was like, okay, what if my character has a toy sword, like a plastic sword, but they use their energy to like make it function like a real sword? And I've said, yeah, that's allowed, because like, I mean you're already giving it like a narrative, right? Like, and like, you know, having a plastic toy sword, like, you know, you can do interesting stuff with that. Like, oh, maybe, you know, by doing that you avoid like metal detectors. Maybe it takes makes people's like guard, lowers their guard, right? Like, they wouldn't think about it. When did they get the toy sword? Like, why is it so important to them, right? Like, why have they kept it? Or, you know, why did they decide on a toy sword, you know? Is it for stealth purposes? So that way, when they like go onto an airplane and, you know, they do like metal detectors, they don't detect anything, right? Like, like press. It'd be fun to fight with a chain. That would be sick. I love chains. Chains are so cool. Like press trying to be like, I'm gonna do the thing that I want to do anyways, was like exactly the point. Like, I want people to like think outside of the box, right? And think of like if you really do want to do that stuff, you have like cool loopholes, right? But you still need to be creative about it. But you know, like once again, like I mean, this is a tabletop game, right? Rules are more so guidelines. You don't really need to listen to them. If you want to have a real sword, sure, you can have a real sword or whatever. But I also want people to beat each other up with yo-yos and umbrellas, right? Yeah. But yeah, no, modest ghost mouse. I just keep wanting to say modest mouse. Yeah, chains are cool. I always think of Kurapika from Hunter x Hunter. That's the big one. What's another like cool chain person? Fights with chains. I remember thinking of one for a story. The idea was like they could summon chains, but only within shadows. So like the specific like time of day and stuff was like pretty important. And you know, like you can't do it in pitch black. You need some sort of light source. I thought that could be kind of cool. I would say that's definitely the stuff I need to plan out the most, is like figuring out like how objective versus subjective combat should be, right? Because I feel like combat does typically benefit from having a more visual, concrete element to it. And especially when you're, you know, involving abilities that are unique and interact with the world. They have utilities that have unique attributes, right? The ways in which they interact with the world is also pretty important. So that's definitely something I need to think a lot about, is like how objective versus subjective combat should be displayed as. That sounds sick as fuck. Kill Bill RPG. Oh man. Really, like, the game is technically playable. More than anything, I feel like I just gotta kind of set up guidelines on like how to play, right? I just I don't consider myself a great writer, so I just don't know how to like go about approaching something like this. I've written down thoughts and ideas, like all the different subtypes and whatever, example abilities, right? Techniques. So like techniques would be more like universal mechanics, I guess. I feel like I did. I thought I reinforced. Oh yeah. This was a the focus mechanic. I thought was based off of like Press's input. That like there should be some sort of way for players to regain their energy. So I thought like using up a turn, but like, you know, rolling. Sorry, very hiccupy. But rolling their will modifier, I guess. Which is kind of the energy aura stat. The will, like willpower. I thought that seems pretty fair, but of course I should play test it. Your reinforcement is like you make thing tougher, right? That's how you turn your plastic sword into a real sword. Your expulsion is when you go like what's it called? What's it called? Emperor's Hockey from One Piece. Is there like a good picture of this? Sorry, I just don't want to like straight up just look up Google. I don't know what's gonna pop up. But like you know like the whole trope where it's like someone's looking at you and they're like so intimidating that you're like, whoa. Right? It'd be like that kind of thing. Produces like a physical like wind or like energy. Be like, whoa. Like that whole trope. And then perception would be like focusing, right? Like you close your eyes and then you can like sense the people around you. But like you can also actually we should how about maybe like a conceal could be like a universal mechanic where like characters like makes character undetectable, but have disadvantage if attacked. Right, so the idea being that like your aura or whatever, right? That's how you defend yourself, that's how you fight. So you can kind of disable it so that way people can't go like they're trying to sense you, right? They're trying to sense your energy, but they can't do that because you're hiding. But because you don't have your aura out, you are at like a disadvantage of taking more damage, right, than you would normally. You're physically weaker, but to compensate, you are like super hidden. There's probably a better way to do that. Trying to think. Maybe I should. I generally really like how anime all of this sounds. Thank you. Listen, D&D fans have a history of being like, that's too anime. and I said it's not anime enough. So I just made my own game that is as anime as possible. It is unbelievably anime. Yeah. Very much inspired by like how Hunter x Hunter is like, what if we take anime tropes but make them mechanics? Yeah, let's... I'm trying to think. It's like I have all of this. I have all of this like lore stuff, but at the end of the day, it's really the mechanics that's gonna be kind of, I guess, very the most important, right? I guess I guess we can just go about maybe we could, I'm trying to think how to like approach, because I think my goal is to at least get a zine. Alright, I want to get a zine that people can download, or like, you know, maybe even buy for cheap, like $5 or whatever. But you can download the character sheet for free. Not with those symbols though. Those are I believe copywritten. I think they're from Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I'm gonna have to swap out the symbols I used for it, but you know, of course, whatever the finalized version of the sheet is, right? I guess we can, because I guess the core of it is character design, right? Like whatever your powers are or whatever is dependent on what your character backstory is and what your character's personality and outlook and whatever is. So maybe, I mean, maybe saying that first would be useful. Like, let me do bullet points. I want a bullet points. Maybe like bullet point, copy paste. Where are you? There you are. Alright. So let's, of course, paste without formatting. It's still, why does it look like that? Why are you highlighted like that? And why are you blue? There we go. Okay. Also, I'm gonna piss everyone off by using an ugly ass font. That's just very nice for my dyslexic ass. So I guess we can make a list of things to focus on for the rules, right? The rule book. So I guess one, maybe kind of like defining your character, right? I guess would be the kind of steps, right? Let's go like step by step and how I would approach explaining how this would work, right? So you define your character, then design an ability for said character, right? Then I guess, or should I feel like universal mechanics could be like, honestly, the last step, right? Like, for players, I mean. Because once again, what this would need to do is like give the proper tools to explain how to do all this with examples, which we have. Oh my. Design ability. So that's all that the player would do, and then I guess for like GM side, right? Maybe like designing encounters could be an important one, right? Because I think for me, right? Once again, we're doing this is extremely anime. Something I think JoJo does really well is that the encounters are kind of set up like mysteries, where we kind of see the effects of someone's ability, but we don't know who it is, and we don't know the rules of how their ability works, or like how to counter it. So maybe having a little section on like, here's how I would recommend designing an encounter could be kind of cool. Let's see, what else? All that would be like, whatever. I feel like a lot of this would just fall into the first two categories. Yada yada yada. I guess probably like, night everyone. Night night, modest Ghost Mouse. I hope you had a fun time, and thank you so much for joining and following, and also recommending Scrap by Steven Zich. Thank you so much for recommending this game. Yeah. If you guys have any suggestions of like info that you think would be useful, like if you had to explain this game to your friends for the first time, like what kind of information would be useful to you, do you think? I'm thinking then we can kind of get into more like universal mechanics slash number stuff. So this would be like health, like scaling health and damage and whatever. Kind of like general metrics that people can go off of. Maybe alternate rules could be good. 2d6 was definitely the one that came to mind. For making a character, does the game have a setting, or is it just whatever the GM wants? That's definitely something I've thought about. I've thought about for I guess maybe this first edition, making the setting just whatever the GM wants. I do have a setting in mind, and potentially releasing that as a thing at some point. Like I have a bunch of stuff written down here about like I had a whole bunch of artwork saved too, like a lot of stuff from Mobius, if you're familiar with that artist. Where is it? like that, and this, and this, and this, and this. I believe Mobius was a French comics artist, super influential. Yeah, his stuff was super important for like the sci-fi genre as a whole. Definitely an influence on the kind of aesthetics that I really like. And so I'll probably release a basic zine that's like, here's the basic rule set. This is system agnostic. If you want to use it, you can use it, whatever. Like it's like, if you want to run your JoJo RPG or like your Hunter x Hunter game, right, with your friends, there you go, you can use it. And then afterwards releasing, like, here is my world building. Here's some races and locations and magic items and, you know, cool art. Cool art of like destroyed old places. And like flying islands and shiny rocks. And people living inside of the skull of a dead god or whatever, I don't know. Cool shit. Yeah, so to answer your question, and the long and short of it, for now, no. It's just gonna be whatever the DM thinks would be best for the setting, or whatever the DM wants the setting to be. I did design this to be generally system agnostic. You know, if you're doing like a sci-fi thing, you can always reflavor it to be like psychic energy, right? If you're trying to do more sword and sorcery, just say it's like your mana, right? Your magic mana or whatever, right? It's all the same stuff. Yeah, I would say it's just, ultimately speaking, while it is super duper anime, it fundamentally is like a system agnostic way of playing that is intended to be very laterally focused. Let me see. What other? Because I'm looking at this, a lot of it is lore stuff that I've written down here, and I'm just thinking, it's like, that probably isn't super important, at least not now. Examples, maybe those, maybe like balancing tips could be important for ability designing. I don't know, what other tools do you think would be important to have as a player? Because I'm thinking like a zines, at least like a super simple like printout kind of zine. I think it's like what, like 7 pages? This is like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 8 pages, but that's, I guess it's 7 if you don't count the cover art. If we're doing a 1-page zine. I guess this might be a decent starting point, I guess, to just start writing, I guess. Like, should we, I guess maybe like, writing is so like, we like, yeah, I was looking at a lot of different game sheets. Here is a game called Prol. It's a game that instead of rolling die, you flip coins. And the art is super cute and charming. And I love this character sheet that just has a big section that just says portrait. Where you can just draw a little character. I also really like that the different stats are represented by symbols, kind of keeping it abstract. Very cool. Yeah. Roll. You guys want to look that up? I don't know. A question, I guess. Do you think having a specific setting in mind would make it more appealing? Or do you not think it's like super necessary? Or it could just be released as like 2 different versions? Where it's like, here's the core rules, and then here is like the starter set, whatever, right? With like your maps and stuff like that. I think 2 different versions would be good? Okay. Yeah. I think that would probably make the most sense. Especially like if I want people to be able to like modify it and whatever and do their own versions. I think just having like a core rules kind of thing could be kind of cool. Yeah. Settings can help. It's really up to the person if they want to go crazy in making their own stuff or go by the book. Yeah, I'm thinking 2 different editions. One like kind of small core rulebook edition, and then a second one that's like the specific campaign setting. Because I've also considered making multiple books using the same rules. Like, I already have stuff in mind for like a gothic horror setting. I had a bunch of stuff written down for like. Let me see if I can pull up some notes. I write a lot of notes on my phone. Let's see. Stuff about Dampiers, Bloodlusts. I had like a whole thing where like because like unique abilities in this kind of system are supposed to be like your life energy, that like because vampires are undead, they can't produce their own life energy and they need to siphon it from other people. So like they don't like use their aura to like manifest stuff. they use like blood. I thought that'd be cool. It's like I thought yeah. I guess I'll I guess we'll keep probably adventure sheet stuff, right? Probably be relatively the same. Let's go also with like encounters universal mechanics. It is kind of nice just being able to organize this. Yes, I'll just leave it like that. So really, let's okay, let's say like these and this are like, can I cross things out? How do I? How do you cross out? It's Alt-Shift-5 or Command-Shift-X. This, and this is mostly done. Do I have, because I thought I also, so I thought I also had a different document about rule stuff. Let's see if I can find out. Brainstorming dump. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. Fellow VTuber and RPG enthusiast, Dice Queen Die. Also, I think already has a game, or it's like, I forgot. This is in my Google Docs. It's called Project Garmer. Gamar? Garmr. Yeah. It's very much inspired by like, I think it's called like, yeah, like Ruby. I think stuff like God Eater and stuff like that. Like stuff where people fight cool big scary monsters with cool weapons. I think this one is a little more like crunchy, mechanically speaking. I think that's the kind of stuff they prefer. Yeah. I'm just gonna search. Yeah. Okay, I guess like this is explaining I'm just checking to see if there's any information that's been updated. Because this has been redone. This is different now. Maybe like control, like Alt Shift 5? Is that what it was? Yeah. This is gonna have to be redone now. I need to add this. If you can't tell, I've already done a lot of iterations already. Let me pull up. Let me pull up to the after party. You and all your friends. They love whatever. Okay, so the first original draft was from October of 2021. Oh my god, have I really been at this for that long? Oh my god. Okay. It looked like this. This was the original earliest version I can find. It's pretty ugly. I'd say the character sheet is relatively finished. You know, maybe I'll update it for whatever later version will be. In this, then you got little icons. It came that one. I tried adding some little stat modifiers, and I'm like, oh, that's confusing. I don't like that actually. And then I added little lines to put the names and stuff. Draft 3. Draft 4. What's the difference? Oh, it's mostly like, yeah, no, it's pretty notably different. 4. Here's 5, where I swap out the side bits, it looks like. Or is that just an earlier version? Yeah. This was version 4. And then this was version 5, which I think is the latest one. Well, it's version 5 with the ones with the icons. As for like the unfiltered ones, this is the 7th version. I've done like basically 7 different iterations of this. Yeah. Mostly I wanted to change the font and the thickness because, let me pull this up. For funsies more than anything, I decided to print it out. And as you can see here, this font is not great to be printed. And the thickness, it's a bit much. And the specific shade of gray I used was super dark on my paper. So you can see here, it's definitely a lot more legible. Accessibility was definitely an important factor for me personally. I wanted to make everything super big and very easy to identify. You know. So yeah, I've done a lot of versions. Yeah. Close all these. Seven different versions in the past. I guess probably closer to a year, but October 2021. Yeah, no. I'd say it's a glow up. One on the left is definitely not as immediately legible. And I think by condensing stuff into more generalized groups, it leads to more visual cohesion and less clutter. I've done a lot of stuff I make in a game. I think I'm just kind of really nervous to like actually release it, let alone I'm like very I don't know. I'm definitely kind of a bit self-conscious, I guess. Let me see if I can find stuff. You're talking about a setting. This is the artwork I made. That, like, this was just some random character I made. But, like, I totally see this character being, like, on the cover art of the book, like, looking at it, like, off of, like, a cliff or something. Don't know who they are. Don't know what their deal is. I just think they have a sick design. Oh my. I'm just checking to see if there's anything else of note that I haven't done already. Because I think I might be ending the stream soon. Just because I feel like just talking it out. I already have ideas of where to take things, I guess. But yeah, I want it to be nice and big where like you can draw and stuff. Oh, okay, yeah. Here, I mentioned the session I did using my system. It was like superhero themed. That's the character I mentioned, Roadwork. He's the one who can generate signs that each have a unique function. Yeah, that's him. That was our party right there. And then here was my little sketch. It was a very simple sketch of the setting of the city of Paragon, where basically the idea was once again, this was from my friend Jandakar. Go check out Jandakar. Basically it's this like city that's like chained to a meteor, and because people are close to the meteor, they gain abilities. So now this city kind of licenses out its superheroes to like other cities and stuff. It's a very like very capitalistic interpretation of superheroism, I guess you could say. And then here was the original artwork of my character, Kabuto. Yeah. It would be cool to do the art for it traditionally. That could be cool. I'm thinking maybe some like ink type stuff. Though I'd say my specialty is definitely pencil. Love pencil art. If I can get some stuff scanned, that would be great. Yeah. And yeah, I guess I'll end it there. Let's find someone to raid, because I think some of my friends are streaming right now. And I have a little raid emote you can use. Isn't that great? I drew it myself. Here it is. Boom. Don't be afraid to use it. Continue watching now. I'm live right now. Film all, please. Let's see. Okay, my friend AE is live. But also, my friend Sapphire is live. What do you guys wanna watch? Would you prefer Pokemon Mystery Dungeon or artwork? What are we feeling? As you know, I'm always down to support the homies. I'm thinking I'll raid the art because it has a little bit less viewers, and I think with the numbers we have now, it'll even out. But yeah, go watch Miss Sapphire. They're working on art right now. Go use my raid emote. Tell them CyberSoulgem sent ya. Yay! Alright, thank you so much for watching, homies. Bye-bye.